And Richard Keefe, I appreciate you joining us right now. What was your reaction to watching Brad Marchand's comments questioning not just your story, but I would say your journalistic integrity?
I don't have a ton of journalistic integrity, so that's okay. However, I was a little worried that maybe our bosses heard him and said, yeah, we should fire him because of this. I was like, wait a minute, Brad. Hold the phone on this. Trying to have a nice little Friday into the weekend, and this guy's calling for my job. But you just read my tweet. That's really kind of how I felt. I was like, I stand by this, and we can get into the reasons why, maybe because I've never been wrong when it comes to a Bruins story. However, when I'm hearing him react this way and then go on and on and on about it, it just nonstop, and just like laying it on thicker and thicker, I think of the old phrase, doth protest too much.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're doing too much, Brad. Like if it was a non-story, you would just laugh out, like literally laugh at it and move on to the next question.
Especially, and sorry to step on you, I know you have a very important question, Fitzy, ready to roll here, but especially with no disrespect, you're Rich Keefe. You're a radio guy. I mean, hell, half the hockey world disrespectfully ignores your reports as it is. They don't even cite them. And yet he was very passionate. I'm with you. The protest is a bit too much. I also don't care for, he's been compared to Trump on the text line because Trump is one who likes to call for people to be fired when they say stuff or do stuff wrong. Yes. And it was a bit of an overreaction. Are you mad at Brad Marchand?
I'm not mad at Brad Marchand. I'm not mad at him. I just think he's doing a lot here, and it's funny that he and Pastrnak were both asked about it. They're both like, "Oh no, you're close to the truth," and then the team tweets out a photo of the two of them, and they're like looking forward, and you're like, "No, there's a problem. Yeah. You guys are playing horribly. It's very clear, I think." And I just think Brad Marchand has reached kind of his boiling point, and he thought he could deal with some of this privately, and that wasn't going great. And now all of a sudden he has to also deal with it publicly, and he's like, for the love of God. And then, I end up being the guy. I end up being the whipping boy here. I'm the one he kind of attacks.
Rich, have you? Okay. You're a big guy. You got thick skin. You work in Market 10 middays. You even had your own night show for a while, by the way.
I did.
Congrats on that.
Congrats on that.
That was great.
Thank you very much. Yep.
Yeah, but had you heard prior to this confirmation from your source that led you to feel comfortable enough to go to air with it today, had there been intimations of any dysfunction, devolving relationships, or things that would obviously lead to something as significant as what you spoke to today?
Not really, other than the whole coaching fiasco. And not to point this out, but I had Jim Montgomery getting fired before anybody else did. But like around then, it was sort of like there's clearly issues with the team. And then he ended up being the scapegoat. Like he ended up being the in-season Gerard Mayo of this situation. And then things got better for a minute, but they were really just playing worse teams. And then things have kind of fallen apart a little bit, and everybody's pointing fingers as to what's going on. And I just think even on the ice, there's enough evidence that this is true. Everybody across the board is underperforming. Like the best players aren't as good as they normally are. The middle of the road guys are way underachieving, and that's why after last night's loss, I mean they're outside of the top 3 in the division now, and like in risk of missing the playoffs, which is kind of a tough thing to do when you have as much talent as they have. So, yeah, I didn't really been like following this too closely. I hadn't really heard a whole lot Bruins related after the Montgomery firing, and then this sort of fell in my lap even before last night's game. And then here you go. It's more evidence, I feel like, on the ice.
Rich, I thank you for pointing me in the right direction. I had not seen the tweet from the official Bruins that they put out with close-up photos of Pasta and Marchand next to each other, smiling, stretching in another one, smiling. It is pretty impressive, the reaction you have gotten from the captain of the Boston Bruins, their social media team. This reminds me of, do you remember, and I don't remember the details, but something happened with the Patriots where Gronk and Edelman were like hurt or something, and something was going on, and then all of a sudden during the 8 minutes the media's allowed at practice, they were stretching together and like high-fiving each other, looking right at the cameras. Yeah. This is quite a PR spin they are putting forth. You should be proud of the reaction I feel like you've gotten out of a Bruins team. If they attacked their on ice weaknesses and problems the way they've attacked you, they might win some games. You never know.
I know they got everybody against me, and that's fine. And I said before I even knew the response, and we just read a couple quotes before the Marchand after practice 4-minute rant about how I shouldn't have a job. I said to Jones, I was like, maybe this will bring them closer together. Maybe this will actually be the reason. There was a point in the season we thought all was lost, and then we decided to do this versus Rich Keefe. And then at that point, we were able to turn it back into a good team.
We're the 3 best friends that anybody could have. We're the 3 best friends that anyone could have.
That would be a great feather in your cap if the Bruins turn it around, they win the Stanley Cup, and we point to this as the impetus.
This is Rich.
Awesome.
This is the nadir of their season, and you are the rallying cry. You have lit the fire that is going to stoke the flames of their turnaround.
Or they trade Marchand.
Yeah,
or we find out oh my God, it's even worse than he said.
Or 63 is out of here. Well, remember, it was the middle of January. I want to say now 6 years ago, where the St. Louis Blues were hitting rock bottom. They all went out and did karaoke, sang Gloria. It became a rally cry. They turned around and won the Stanley Cup. So,
fire Rich Keefe. That's the rallying cry.
Fire Rich Keefe.
Come on. No,
not us.
I got kids.
No, I was pretending I was the Bruins, but fire Rich Keefe.
If that's how they join forces, then
maybe you'll get a ring.
I'll take one.
You don't have a house anymore, but you'll have a ring.
You'll be on
see my family with a ring.
You'll be on skit. Well, depends.
Ty Law said that famously.
Some of those rings you can actually. They're pretty nice as well.
No, that's true.
So, but nobody else. So, just Marchand has responded to it because I saw there were a whole bunch of other Bruins meeting with the media afterwards against the beautiful backdrop of the white cylinder blocks.
Yeah, it is a nice setting over there.
Really, it's beautiful.
Honestly, they should be happy that we're just talking about them in general. I mean, they've been horrible.
This is almost a good distraction in a lot of ways, Rich, because they got smoked again last night, lost 6 in a row. They're trending in the worst direction possible. And I imagine, by and large, the fans are pretty unhappy with this product right now.
Oh, my God, yeah. And the fans, last home game they had, the fans were chanting, "Fire Don Sweeney." And so
within 1 week, we had 2 different respective teams' fan bases chanting for the firing of somebody.
They're angry.
And the first one got the way that they wanted, and now you wonder if the same will happen here. And I don't know, at some point, maybe people will start to point to the players. You know, they didn't do it with the Patriots. They're not doing it thus far with the Bruins. It was like, oh, it's the coach, and now it's the GM. It's like, well, or it's all of these guys, including your star players, that are underperforming and being apparently problems inside the locker room.
So I don't know if it's okay for me to ask you this. I would never ask for your source or anything like that, but has your source reached out since the brush fire kind of took off here?
No.
Okay. So that's good.
Well, and it's funny, and because
just kidding. He added a just kidding that came through late.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you probably shouldn't have gone with that because that's not true. No.
It's like a bad Verizon commercial.
Yeah. Like, gotcha. I was wondering if you're going to fall for one of these. No, because I'd honestly, if this was like 2 years ago and I had like one maybe Bruins report and then this was the next one, maybe I'd be like, oh, wait a minute. But I just feel pretty confident at this point because whether it's injuries or contracts or coach firings or some of the stuff in between, like it's all been proven true. It's all come out. So I'm like, no, this is also true. And if those guys simply just said, no, don't know where he got it, and I'd be like, oh. But the way Marchand just was like going on, like I can't imagine he's called for too many media members to be fired over something they've said about him or his teammates. So that was landed on pretty thick.
But he also hasn't been the captain that long, and he hasn't been the captain through this type of turmoil for that long. And Fitzy brought this up earlier. It's really not that much different than some of the things we saw come out of Gillette and the players trying to defend their coach, trying to defend the situation, but they do it poorly, take it too far, attack the wrong person. And I do think that could be the very simple answer. Like, there's maybe some truth to your report, a lot of truth to it, because I trust you.
Some heart.
Okay,
there's a
lot of truth.
All truth.
A lot of truth. But also, as the captain, he's kind of scrambling, like, how do I try to clean this up? Do I go on the aggressive? Do I not? It's like when people decide to sue. I'm going to sue you for defamation. Yeah. Like, they're trying to get ahead of it, and you're like, I think you're guilty.
So,
I
mean,
okay.
I find, because you're going to get, Richard, what's going to happen is this. You're going to get a lot of Bruins fans that are going to push back and they're going to say, oh, this, typical negative Boston sports media. I'm sure you've already seen that in your mentions.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of clapping back, like making it up for ratings or whatever else. But then you have your record of the stories about the Bruins that you can lean on, from the Pastrnak contract to the stuff with Swayman and his deal. And then, of course, Jim Montgomery getting dismissed. And you had that first in town. I would just want to ask this at large to anyone that is a fan of the Bruins or wondering exactly how this happened. I can't verify it, but I would want to ask out loud, why would you make this up? Or why would your source make this up? What is to gain by causing a rift unless someone has an agenda that they want to get Brad Marchand traded or make the Bruins look bad? Because trust me, folks, the hockey that they're playing right now on the ice is making them look bad enough.
Oh, my God, yeah, and it's not like it was a slow day. Like, it's one thing if in the middle of the summer, like, you're like, all right, that's a little odd. But, like, right now, we were talking about Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel and Wild Card Weekend. Like, we had plenty of stuff to talk about today. And even just them losing is a story onto itself, 6 straight losses. So that was sort of penciled in last night for what we're going to talk about. But, yeah, this comes up. This comes across the board. And that's always been my pushback with all the things. Like, I don't think people know how that works if that's your take. Like, oh, you're just making it up so people will talk about you. It's like, no, like, it's for us to talk about.
Right.
And then now the fact that the team has addressed it in such a way, like, I couldn't have predicted that. Like, I had no idea. Plus, that didn't even happen until we got off the air. So how does that help me and Jones's show?
It doesn't, but it helps the afternoon show here on WEEI 2 to 6, where Andy Hart's filling in with Nick Fitzy Stevens. Rich Keefe, appreciate you joining us. I trust you until you give me reason not to. And I believe you may be the only information person in the business who I can't think of an incorrect report.
That's by the way, that's the technical term, Rich. Information person.
Yeah. Well, he's not a reporter.
Andy doesn't trot that out for
radio host.
Just
right?
anyone.
Like, I can think. I'm pretty sure that Aaron, what was it? Farron Judge or whatever didn't go to the Giants. Arson Judge didn't go to the Giants. I'm pretty sure that Bill Belichick traded Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, there's famous information.
That's right.
Messengers out there that have made a lot of mistakes.
Well,
you're not one of them.
Hey, you know what? At least you didn't promise that Juan Soto was coming here on a 12-year deal.
I did not do that
true.
either. And I guess so. Yeah. In the words of Brad Marchand, I'll just crawl back into my closet, which was a.
That wasn't very nice.
Well, Rich, I have an idea. How about this? Later on tonight, let's get together, and I'll buy you a beer by spending no money.
I love that.
And I'll chip in.
For us.
Yep, I'll chip in.
You.
So we'll all celebrate together.